The green card, America's VIP pass. It lets you live, work, and build a life here. But it's not as permanent as it sounds. People wait years for this chance, hoping for a fresh start. But if you break the rules, it can be taken away, just like that. For millions, this little card is the foundation of their American story. For many immigrants, joining the U.S. military is more than patriotism, it's a fast track to citizenship. You serve, you sacrifice, and in return, America offers you a place to call home. It's a tradition dating back to the Revolutionary War, and for many it feels like a fair trade. But is this promise as ironclad as it seems? The reality is more complicated. Here's where the story takes a turn. You would think that serving in the U.S. military puts you in a special, protected class. If you've worn the uniform, you've earned your spot. End of story. But that's not always how it works. The very same rules that can get a regular green card holder's status revoked can, in many cases, still apply to someone who is serving or has served in the military. This is a shock to many people, both in and out of the military. The idea that someone could serve in combat in Iraq or Afghanistan and then come home only to face deportation seems unbelievable. The core of the issue is this: a green card is a civil immigration benefit while military service is, well, military service. In the eyes of the law, they are two separate things. Committing certain crimes, for example, can automatically make you deportable, regardless of your military record. Things like fraud on your original green card application can come back to haunt you years later, even after you've completed a tour of duty. The law doesn't always have a special clause that says, unless you're a veteran, it can be cold and brutally technical. This creates a confusing and often heartbreaking situation. Imagine a soldier who gets into a bar fight after returning from a stressful deployment. Depending on the severity of the charge, that one mistake could trigger deportation proceedings. Or consider someone who, years ago, made a mistake on their immigration forms, and it only comes to light after they've served honorably for years. Suddenly, their service, their sacrifice, and their dedication are on one side of the scale, and a legal infraction is on the other. And sometimes, the law says the infraction weighs more. So the big question we're going to explore is, are U.S. military members exempt from green card revocation and deportation? Is there a shield that protects them? The simple answer is no, they are not completely exempt. However, the full story is more nuanced. There are special considerations, waivers, and legal arguments that can be made. Military service make a huge difference in an immigration case, but it's not an automatic get-out-of-jail-free card. The promise of security in exchange for service is not guaranteed, and for some, that is a bitter pill to swallow. To join the U.S. military as an immigrant, you need a green card and must meet the same age, fitness, and education standards as any recruit. There are extra background checks and you must prove English fluency. Some jobs are off limits, but there are still many vital roles. For many, it's the first step toward citizenship and a new life in America. Now, there was this really interesting and now famous exception to the green card rule called the Military Accessions Vital to the National Interest Program, or MAVNI. That's a mouthful, I know. Basically, from 2009 for a few years, the Pentagon opened a special door. They said, hey, we need people with certain critical skills, especially healthcare professionals and speakers of strategic languages like Arabic, Pashto, or Chinese. And for this program, you didn't need a green card. You could be in the United States legally on a student or work visa, and if you had these skills, you could enlist directly. It was a huge deal. This MAVNI program was revolutionary. It offered a direct path to citizenship, skipping the whole green card process entirely. The deal was simple. You enlist, you serve honorably, and you get your United States citizenship fast. For thousands of people, doctors, nurses, translators, this was an incredible opportunity. These were folks who were already contributing to American society, but had no clear path to permanent residency. Suddenly, the military was offering them a shortcut in exchange for their unique and valuable talents. It was a win-win. The military got the skilled personnel it desperately needed, and the recruits got the promise of citizenship. But then, things got complicated. The MAVNI program became a victim of its own success and changing security concerns. The background checks for these recruits, who didn't have the long-term United States residency of green card holders, became extremely intense and backlogged. We're talking about people waiting years in limbo, their lives on hold, while the government vetted them. Some had their visas expire while they waited, putting them in a legal gray area. The program was eventually suspended to new applicants in 2016, leaving many who had already signed up in a tough spot. The story of Mavanai is a perfect example of how immigration policy and military needs can create incredible opportunities, but also how quickly those doors can shut. It highlights the precarious position of non-citizen recruits. They put their trust in a government promise, only to have the rules change midway through the game. For many it worked out and they became proud citizens. But for others, the Mavanai saga became a cautionary tale about the complexities and uncertainties of trying to serve a country that hasn't fully accepted you yet. It showed that even a vital skill doesn't always guarantee a smooth ride. For many immigrants, the military offers a fast track to citizenship. Instead of waiting years, you can apply after just 1 day of honorable service, thanks to special provisions. Application fees are waived, ceremonies are held on base, and you get benefits like healthcare, education, and job skills. But if something goes wrong before citizenship, that promise can suddenly feel uncertain. The green card is your VIP pass to America, but it comes with rules. Permanent sounds final, but it's more like a Jenga tower. Pull the wrong block and it can all come crashing down. Break the rules, commit certain crimes, or stay away too long and you risk losing it all, even if you serve in the military. So, permanent really means, follow the rules, or your American dream could disappear. Perfect. The most common way people lose their green cards is by committing certain crimes. Crimes involving moral turpitude or aggravated felonies can trigger deportation, even if it seems minor in criminal court. The law is strict, and military service doesn't protect you. Even decorated veterans can lose their green cards for a single mistake. Fraud or willful misrepresentation, lying to get your green card, can haunt you years later. Maybe you faked a document, hid a criminal record, or claimed a degree you didn't have. Even a small mistake can lead to your status being revoked, your military service invalidated, and your life in the US erased. Security isn't guaranteed until you hold that citizenship certificate. Did you know you can lose your green card just for living abroad too long? The US expects green card holders to actually live here. If you spend too much time overseas, you risk losing your status. Even trips over 6 months can raise questions. Military deployments are an exception, but after service the same rules apply. So, living abroad, be careful, your green card depends on it. Military service isn't a magic shield, but it's powerful in immigration cases. Honorable service shows good moral character, something judges look for when weighing your future. Your record, medals, and leadership can tip the scales, showing commitment and sacrifice. For many, this evidence is what convinces a judge to grant a second chance and let you stay in the country. Parole in Place, or PIP, is a special program for military families. If a service member's loved one is undocumented, PIP lets them stay in the US and apply for a green card, without leaving or risking separation. It's a lifeline that recognizes the sacrifices of military families and helps keep them together during times of service and stress. When a green card holder faces deportation, their fate often rests with an immigration judge's discretion. The judge can weigh the whole person, not just the crime, but their life, family, and service. This is where a military record becomes a powerful argument. Imagine, the government's lawyer points to a criminal conviction, but the defense presents years of honorable military service, combat deployments, and glowing recommendations. The judge must balance the crime against the sacrifice and character shown in service. An honorable military record can tip the scales, showing patriotism and value to the country. Two people with the same conviction might get different outcomes. One deported, one allowed to stay because of military service. The law isn't waived for veterans, but their service gives judges a compelling reason to grant relief, like cancellation of removal. It's not a guarantee, but it's a real fighting chance. Judges look at remorse, rehabilitation, family ties, and community involvement. Military service often stands out. The human element matters. A decorated veteran story can move the judge to mercy. In the end, it's about convincing a person, not just following a rule book. For many, their service is the strongest argument they have to stay. Military service can help in court, but it's not a shield. It's a defense after trouble starts. The only true protection from deportation is U.S. citizenship. Once you're a citizen, you can't be deported for crimes or abandonment. Your status is secure. That's why expedited citizenship for service members is so crucial. Every day a non-citizen serves with just a green card, they're vulnerable to mistakes that could trigger deportation. Naturalization is the finish line. The moment permanent becomes real. Only fraud can undo citizenship, and that's extremely rare. Citizens have full rights, they can vote, work anywhere, and never face deportation. The best advice for non-citizen service members: apply for citizenship as soon as you're eligible. Don't wait. Your service gives you the fastest path to real security. Your green card gets you in the door, but citizenship is your lifetime pass. The promise is fulfilled. Serve the country, and the country gives you a permanent home. That's the only real armor in immigration law. Let's talk about Miguel Perez Jr., a real example of the stakes. Brought to the U.S. as a child, Miguel served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a green card holder. He returned with a brain injury and PTSD, but struggled to get help. Addiction followed, and a felony drug conviction put him in ICE's crosshairs. Despite his service and the trauma that led to his crime, the law was unforgiving. Veterans groups and activists rallied, arguing his sacrifice and PTSD should matter. His lawyers fought hard, but the aggravated felony conviction was a legal wall. In 2018, Miguel was deported to Mexico, a country he hadn't lived in since childhood. His story became a symbol of the system's rigidity and the limits of military service as a defense. It sent a chilling message: even decorated veterans can be deported for serious mistakes. The law didn't bend, even for someone who bled for the country. Miguel's case shows the harsh reality: service helps, but doesn't guarantee protection. It's a hard lesson, but one that reveals the real risks non-citizen veterans face. His story is a warning: the law can be merciless, no matter your sacrifice. We have to face these truths to understand what's at stake. Now consider Shuji Suri, a Mavi recruit with vital skills from India. He joined the army, expecting a fast track to citizenship, but a government freeze left him in limbo. His visa expired while he waited for background checks. Suddenly, Shuji was both a sworn-in army recruit and an undocumented immigrant. Through no fault of his own, he faced deportation. The government tried to remove someone it had just recruited to serve. Shuji and hundreds of others were trapped by bureaucracy, feeling abandoned. After a long legal fight, the courts recognized the absurdity and let him stay. Eventually, he got back on track toward citizenship. Shuji's story is a warning: even special programs can fail, and the rules can change overnight. Military service isn't always a guarantee, sometimes it's a gamble. His case shows how quickly things can go wrong, even for those who follow every rule. The system's complexity can put even the most deserving recruits at risk. Not every story ends in heartbreak. Sometimes service tips the scales. Take Carlos, a hypothetical soldier green card holder, 6 years in the army, combat veteran. After a bar fight and an assault conviction, he faced deportation. The government argued the law was clear, but Carlos's lawyer asked for cancellation of removal. The judge reviewed his military record, letters from fellow soldiers, and evidence of his service. The judge had a choice: follow the letter of the law or recognize Carlos's sacrifice. In the end, the judge granted relief. Carlos's service outweighed his single mistake. He kept his green card and stayed with his family. This shows how, when judges have discretion, military service can be the deciding factor. It's not an automatic shield, but it's powerful evidence of good character. Sometimes the system does work as you'd hope. Service earns a second chance. For many, their record is the best argument for mercy. Military service can truly make all the difference. So, are military green card holders exempt from deportation? The answer is no, there's no magical shield. Military service doesn't make you immune to immigration law. Green card holders in uniform face the same rules as anyone else. Serious crimes or fraud can still lead to deportation, no matter your service. It's a tough paradox: trusted to defend the country, but not guaranteed a home. As we saw with Miguel Perez Jr., Even decorated veterans can be deported for serious offenses. The system is rigid, sometimes lacking compassion. But military service is a powerful advantage when a judge has discretion. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card, but it can tip the scales toward mercy. Veterans have a better fighting chance than non-veterans, but no absolute protection. The reality is messy. Service gives you armor, not invincibility. It opens doors to special relief, but doesn't guarantee safety. It's a deeply human, complicated part of America's immigration puzzle. Here's the real talk. If you're a non-citizen serving in the US military, citizenship is your best protection. Your service gives you a fast track, don't wait. Every day without citizenship is a risk. For the rest of us, remember, these service members sacrifice for a country that hasn't fully claimed them. We owe them respect, gratitude, and a secure place to call home. That's the promise.